What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the upcoming update for Madden 20. As you know, we get about one, maybe two of these a month, so it's kind of time to look ahead at what's next, what I've been hearing about, what's kind of going around as things that we could possibly be seeing. We're going to talk about some gameplay stuff, some franchise stuff, player likeness, abilities, and more. If you are new to the channel and you want to always be up to date on all the latest news and tips, make sure to subscribe, hit the bell icon so that you never miss any of these uploads. Also, drop a like on the video if you don't mind, it does help out the channel. So, tomorrow is Thursday, which is the day that we get title updates. That's the day we've been, consistently getting them. We didn't get one last Thursday, which leads me to believe that maybe tomorrow we could be seeing a bit of an update. Going back to kind of last year, it seemed like it was more so once a month. This year, it definitely feels like it's been more like twice a month. So I would expect an update tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely the following Thursday. But I like to get you guys the information a little bit early, a little bit quicker. Some things you can expect. So gameplay wise, some things that I've been hearing about, for the past month or so that still haven't kind of gone through yet. As far as gameplay, I think they've addressed most of the stuff, most of the big things that they kind of set out to address, so I'm not 100% sure how much gameplay stuff would be coming in this next update, but I know one thing they're definitely looking at is kind of the more tuning to zone coverage. I don't think it's quite where they want it to be. It was kind of bad at the beginning of the year. They made it a lot better. It seemed like with the last update, it kind of took a little bit of a step back, but it's still not terrible. But I know one thing for sure is kind of the break on ball timing is something that they don't really seem to like right now, at least from what I have heard. Kind of more so like with the players breaking with their back to the ball. That's kind of something I said from day one when they patched the zones, that shouldn't be a thing, and that's actually bad for the game. No player should be breaking on a throw when he's not even looking at the ball at the QB. He's facing the wide receiver, and he immediately will break on a ball that's going underneath him that he can't even see. So I would expect to see that as an upcoming gameplay update. In terms of abilities, this is one that's kind of up in the air. It seems like this year they've definitely been obviously big on the abilities. They've kind of they've fixed some of them. They've added a lot of new ones. In terms of new ones, I don't think we're going to see too many more new abilities for the rest of the year. I think that they put out most of the abilities that they wanted to at this point. The game launched with mainly skill position abilities and quarterbacks and things like that. Then after an update or two, we got the offensive line abilities, and with this last update, we got the run stopping ability. So I'm not really sure how much else they would really be looking to add. I'm sure we might get one or two new ones sprinkled in throughout the year, but I don't think we're going to see any more massive new abilities added. But in terms of fixing them, there's definitely still that are up in the air about needing to be fixed, and they haven't really said one way or the other if they were going to tune these things, but I think there's been a lot of feedback given to them, a lot of complaints, so I would expect to still see something maybe done with Escape Artist at some point, because it is still far and away the most overpowered ability in the game. A lot of people aren't happy with it. It should definitely work and be better, in terms of scrambling versus a QB that doesn't have it, but the way that it's currently set up is, if you know what you're doing, contains are useless, and we've talked about this before. There's even ways where you can force the contain to rush in and get chop blocked by the running back, and you can take off every time to that side of the contain, and the contain will not actually hold his ground and contain the QB. So they definitely need to look into something with Escape Artist. Some of the blocking abilities too don't really work that good. The pass blocking abilities, most people have noticed since they were put in the game, they really don't do much against the edge threat pass rushers. You could have any type of pass blocking on your left tackle or right tackle. They still get beat just as much as a guy that doesn't have the ability. So I'm sure there's going to be some tuning done to that, if not this update, and one that's coming very soon. And then, of course, one that's kind of going around right now is the Nasty Streak ability. I believe Lane Johnson's the only person that has this in the regular game. And Ultimate Team right now, Joe Thomas is the only person that can get it. But essentially, if you know what you're doing with this ability, you can put the guy at tight end, kind of motion him, and basically almost anybody that's not a defensive lineman, if this Nasty Streak guy gets him one-on-one, he's going to pancake him every time. And not only that, he will pancake the guy, get to the next level, pancake the next guy. Anybody that gets within his guy's vicinity, it's an auto pancake. And on cornerbacks and things like that, I'm okay with it, because, I mean, a guy, these big offensive linemen that are great run blockers, they're going to maul over cornerbacks and even safeties a good bit of the time, no matter what in real life. That's realistic, but I guess at the consistent rate that it happens, you know, even to linebackers and things like that, it's just a little bit too much of an auto win every time you got a guy that does this. So I would expect to maybe see some tuning done with that. But that's about it for abilities. Now, let's talk about player likeness. A lot of people are still complaining there's tons of players without face scans. We know that they got a lot of new face scans that haven't been put in the game yet. We're not sure exactly which players other than the Panthers players, because they did a whole thing on that when they made a video, especially to get Greg Olsen's face scan, because he kind of went viral for having one of the worst face scans in Madden. And since he's such, you know, an old player, you know, such a veteran of the league, one of the best tight ends of the last decade, and, you know, he still never had a face scan for whatever reason. They got his face scan a while back, along with other Panther players like Trey Turner and some other guys, and these have not been put in the game yet, and I know Panther fans are growing frustrated with it, because every time I do an update video, I see multiple of those guys in my comments saying, like, wow, we know they have the face scans, they didn't put it in yet. To my knowledge, how the face scanning works is they, you know, maybe like once a month, because like I said, they usually have 2 updates. Usually in one of the updates every month, they'll do a new batch of face scans, because I guess what they do is they get the scan, but once you have the scan, you still have to sculpt it and all this stuff. You can't just like kind of press a button and it's like, okay, the player just has his scan now. You still have to sculpt it. It still has to fit, you know, on his head the proper way, because everybody's got a different shaped head and things like that. So I know it does actually take a little time to do the face scans, but they come out in batches. So I would definitely expect the next batch to definitely have the likes of Greg Olsen and the other Panther players, but there's still a long list of names that people have continued to ask about. Guys like Chris Carson, you know, he's, you know, top 5 in the league in rushing. He was really good last year. Still, you know, one of the better running backs right now. Still doesn't have a face scan. I would imagine he's high up on the radar. Marquise Goodwin of the 49ers. Aaron Jones of the Packers. Starting to really come on strong, have a really good year. He still doesn't have a face scan. Kevin Byard, who they just finally made a superstar player in the last update, which was a nice nod to Kevin Byard, but still doesn't have a face scan. So, you know, if you're gonna make a guy a superstar player, he should definitely have a face scan in the game. It just, because you're saying he's one of the, let's say, 100 or, you know, 80 best players in the league, that guy definitely needs a face scan. So I would expect to see him coming probably in the next batch. Earl Thomas is one that he hasn't had one ever, I don't think, and it's kind of odd because he's been, you know, the best safety in the league for a while, and even if you don't consider him the best right now, he's still definitely a top 5 safety. He's one of the best safeties we've seen definitely in the last decade. This one I don't think is for a lack of trying. To my knowledge, they have tried time and time again to get Earl Thomas's face scan, but if the player doesn't really care about it, you can't force them to get their face scanned. I mean, sometimes the schedules, you know, they don't work out. They try to get these guys down there to scan them, or they'll even come to you. But if certain players just don't care about it, they don't care about it, and you can't make them get it scanned. So I think with Earl Thomas, that's more of the issue, because the fact they don't have it now, I mean, they've clearly tried, obviously, to get one of the best players we've seen in a while. They want his face in the game, but clearly they aren't able to get it. In terms of superstars, while we were, you know, kind of just on that topic about superstars and X Factors, they've been updating these pretty consistently, so I would expect to see, you know, some more superstar players added, maybe even some more X Factor players. Right now, I think some names that are in the running for new superstar players would have to be, for sure, Leonard Fournette, 2nd in the league in rushing right now, having his best year as a pro by far. I could expect to see maybe him get the nod and get some, you know, the superstar nod. Not an X Factor, but definitely get some abilities. Chris Carson, who we talked about in terms of needing a face scan, another guy that I could see getting some superstar abilities, you know, being another one of the top rushers in the league. Chris Godwin of the Bucks, I mean, he's been killing it this year. He was really solid last year, but he's really stepped up this year and is playing like one of the best receivers in the league, so I could definitely see him getting an ability or two. Same kind of goes for Amari Cooper. He's been in the league for a minute. You know, he started out really hot, then he kind of had some down years, but since going to the Cowboys, he's been pretty darn good in terms of the second half of last year and the first half of this year. He's been really good, looked like the guy he was drafted to be, one of the best route runners in the league by far, so it would really make sense for him to get some superstar abilities. With all the plethora of route running abilities that are in the game, he could definitely use a route running ability or two, and it would make perfect sense. DJ Chark, potentially. He's second-year player, didn't really do much in his first year, but he is killing it this year. I believe leading the AFC in receiving yards, has about 6 touchdowns. So maybe a little premature for him, but he's definitely currently this year one of the best weapons in the league right now. So I could see maybe him getting an ability going into the superstar. Devin McCourty of the Patriots, obviously he's been in the league a long time. He just got boosted up pretty nicely in the roster update. I believe he's the second best free safety in the game now, so it would kind of make sense for him to get the superstar nod next time they update this and maybe give him some type of ability back there. And he's also, you know, got a lot of picks this year as well. So, I mean, it kind of just goes hand in hand, you know, give him the pick artist ability or something of that nature. In terms of X factors, now the thing with how X factors work is somebody has to lose their X factor in order for somebody else to gain it, because they want to keep it at 50 because they don't want to have too many players on the game that have X factor. So, who's going to lose their X factor? Not sure at the moment. There are definitely some guys that are in the running to lose it, just having bad years or, you know, not really living up to the hype right now for some reason. But in terms of guys that I think are next up to get upgraded to an X Factor player, I think Deshaun Watson has to be at the top of that list because he is just balling out right now. He's kind of starting to be talked about in that MVP conversation a little bit. So I definitely think he's the next guy to get upgraded to an X Factor. Not sure what his X Factor ability would be. But he would definitely be the next guy. I think other guys you look at is like Danielle Hunter, second year in a row, just one of the flat out best pass rushers in the league. I believe he's 4th or 5th in the league in sacks right now. Last year he was top 5. He does have some superstar abilities, but it definitely seems like he should kind of be upgraded to that X factor and get some more abilities. Chandler Jones is another name who I feel like is always under the radar. He seems to be always like top 5 in sacks. He's having another dominant year, so he's already a superstar player. I could see him maybe getting the nod. And then Jamal Adams is the last guy that came to mind. I thought he should have came into the year as an X-Factor player. He's playing just as good as ever. He still hasn't gotten that nod yet, but I don't think he's too far off from getting it. And then last but not least for franchise, there's still a bunch of things we're waiting on for franchise that we haven't seen yet, so it has to be any update now. Things like the 5th year option, potentially more scenarios for the scenario engine. We have seen them update that quite a bit so far this year, but they said that they weren't done with it, that they wanted to keep updating it. And specifically, we heard 5th year options at the beginning of the year. Still haven't seen it yet. I can't imagine they're going to wait that much longer on it, because at this point we're getting like halfway into the year and we still don't have that yet. So that has to be coming in the next time that, you know, franchise gets an update. And also they keep saying that they're working on, you know, getting the new abilities and the new face scans and things like that into pre-existing CFMs and franchise, because anytime they add new abilities to the game or they add player likeness updates, equipment updates that are specific to that player, if you've already started your franchise or CFM, it doesn't update there. It only would update in the regular base game, and if you were starting a CFM or a franchise from that day, would you get all the updates. And they've been saying all year that it is something they're working towards, and it's definitely frustrating for people, you know, that started their franchise or their CFM the week or the couple weeks in that the game came out, like most people do, and they still don't have offensive line abilities. They don't have the new run stopping abilities. They don't have the new equipment. So expect to see that. I don't know if that would be in the next update, but that is definitely something they keep saying they're working on. So they need to kind of get that in there pretty quick, because people are really growing frustrated with that. And I mean, I would imagine, you know, I'm not a big franchise player, but I imagine if I was, that would definitely really suck to still not have some of these things just because I started my franchise or my CFM a little bit too early. So those are the things that you could be looking forward to with the next update or two. Also on Friday, there's going to be an Ultimate Team update for those of you here that do play Ultimate Team. Series 3 does start Friday, so right now if you have Series 2 trophies, you're going to want to go ahead and spend them, or else they're going to convert to Series 3 trophies, which means they're going to pretty much cut in half. It's going to be half the value. So if you have 500 Series 2 trophies on Friday, they're going to convert to 250 Series 3 trophies. So if you want to get all your bang for your buck, make sure you spend those now. There's probably going to be new power-up players coming into the game. So if you look at cards like Dak Prescott, Deshaun Watson, Xavier Howard, Jair Alexander, players like that who started off the year without a power-up, but they have since gotten some really high overall cards. You can expect guys like that to potentially get power-ups this time around. We're going to have a bunch of new, you know, solos and players and sets and things like that Friday, so definitely be on the lookout for that if you're an Ultimate Team player. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.